Pada 12 Maret 1986, 7 bahan letupan plastik telah diletupkan di kota Kinabalu. Pada tahun 1986, Sabah telah menyaksikan satu rusuhan yang cukup serius. Menurut petikan dari New York Times bertarikh 21 Maret 1986, lebih dari 24 serangan dan kebakaran, yang telah menyebabkan 5 orang maut, dan ramai lagi cedera. Terdapat demonstrasi besar-besaran, dan serangan gas pemedih mata, ke atas perusuh yang membawa spanduk, menjanjikan kematian kepada pemimpin politik, dan seluruh kumpulan etnik. Sebelum pembentukan Malaysia pada 16 September 1963, Parti USNO ataupun United Sabah National Organization, yang telah diasaskan oleh Tun Dato Mustafa Dato Harun, memainkan peranan penting dalam kerjasama dengan UPKO, yaitu United Pasok Momogun Kadasan Dusun Organization, yang dipimpin oleh Tun Fuad Stephens, bersama Persekutuan Tanah Melayu, untuk mendapat kemerdekaan daripada pihak British. Pada tahun 1975, Setiausaha Agung USNO yaitu Haris Saleh, meninggalkan parti tersebut dan bekerja sama dengan Ketua Menteri Pertama Sabah, Tun Fuad Stephens, lalu membentuk sebuah parti baru yang dinamakan Parti Bersatu Rakyat Jelata Sabah, ataupun Berjaya. Parti baru ini berjaya mengalahkan USNO pada pilihan raya negeri tahun 1976, lalu membentuk kerajaan. Tun Fuad Stephens telah dipilih buat kali kedua sebagai Ketua Menteri Sabah yang kelima, namun hanya selepas 44 hari menjadi Ketua Menteri, Tun Fuad Stephens meninggal dunia dalam nahas kapal terbang di kota Kinabalu pada 6 Jun 1976, yang dikenali sebagai tragedi Double Six. Haris Saleh menggantikan tempatnya sebagai Ketua Menteri Sabah yang ke-6. Parti Berjaya telah memerintah Kerajaan Negeri Sabah selama 8 tahun bermula dari tahun 1976 sehingga tahun 1985. Namun begitu, kemenangan Parti Berjaya ini bakal berubah, dan disinilah bermulanya rusuhan di Sabah pada tahun 1986. Pada tahun 1984, seorang pemimpin Kadasan Dusun dalam kerajaan Parti Berjaya, yaitu Tan Sri Joseph Pairin Kitingan, telah dipaksa untuk meninggalkan parti tersebut, apabila beliau lantang menentang dasar-dasar kerajaan yang dikatakannya telah menyimpang dari perjuangan asal. Beliau turut dipaksa mengosongkan kerusi Dewan Undangan Negeri Tambunan pada ketika itu. Pairin kemudiannya dengan berani bertanding dalam pilihan raya kecil Tambunan pada Desember 1984 sebagai calon bebas menentang calon kerajaan. Beliau telah berjaya mengekalkan kerusinya dengan majoriti besar, sebanyak 3.048 undi. Kemenangan tersebut telah menyemarakkan api perjuangan untuk mengubah senario politik di Sabah. Dengan itu, tertubuhnya Parti Bersatu Sabah pada 5 Maret 1985, dengan Pairin sebagai presiden parti. Ideologi yang diperjuangkan oleh Parti Bersatu Sabah ini, merupakan pencetus perubahan besar senario politik, sekaligus mendapat sokongan majoriti penduduk di Sabah. Pilihan Raya Negeri Sabah 1985, berlangsung antara 20 hari bulan dan 21 hari bulan April. Pilihan raya ini adalah persaingan sengit antara 3 pihak, yaitu Parti Bersatu Rakyat Jelata Sabah ataupun Berjaya, yang mewakili Barisan Nasional, Gabungan Pemerintah Malaysia, dan diketuai oleh Ketua Menteri Haris Saleh pada waktu itu. Berjaya ditentang oleh Parti Bersatu Sabah, PBS, diketuai oleh Pairin Kitingan, dan juga Parti Pertubuhan Kebangsaan Bersatu Sabah, USNO, yang diketuai oleh bekas Ketua Menteri Mustafa Harun. Dalam misi menjatuhkan Parti Kerajaan Berjaya, Parti PBS dan USNO telah membentuk satu pakatan sulit. Gabungan tersebut telah mengalahkan Parti Berjaya dan Barisan Nasional. Walau bagaimanapun, pakatan PBS dan USNO ini runtuh pada malam keputusan pilihan raya diumumkan.
Who expected Berjaya to lose the election in 1985? Nobody, not even PBS. But because the sentiment was very strong, that it was Mahathir who said in a rally, big rally in Tahun Padang in Kota Kinabalu, to the effect that we will sing and swim with Berjaya. Now, if you are a Berjaya member, then how would you interpret the thing? Will you not be happy? Of course. Sometimes it is not easy to accept the result of the election when you have been doing so good. But there were some mistake we made during that. Even though how good you are, sometimes, that's why I said, main proposals, God disposes.
The coalition between USNO and PBS is a form of understanding. It's a form of understanding because we know very well none of us, not PBS or USNO, can win a single party government. So therefore, in order to topple Berjaya, we have to cooperate.
But despite the fact that we have not got a proper agreement, just an understanding agreement between PBS and USNO, Tun Mustafa also went all out to campaign for both PBS and USNO. And that is why a lot of the Muslim also in marginal seats who voted for PBS. That is how we won. Through the help of USNO, through Tun Mustafa. Datuk Karim Ghani is the confidant of Tun Mustafa. When Karim wanted to get in touch with me by 10 o'clock or 10:30, he can no longer get me. He only managed to speak to me twice before that. He said, "Hey, Datuk," he said, "the scenario is getting brighter and brighter because you can tell from the TV, kan? The USNO menang sini, PBS menang sana." Oh, I said, "You get in touch again. Don't worry," I said. And then he got in touch at 10:30 and he could not get. He keep on trying, he could not get because our candidates from various parts of Sabah were telephoning Pyren. And there's only one telephone, alright? And I'm the one who's holding. And by then 1 o'clock, Karim has already panicked when he cannot get me. So he told Tun, I think they're reneging, reneging from the coalition.
If you're really sincere, okay, later on, call us. Let's form the government. And forget about Tun Mustafa being appointed. We would have said yes, right? But there was no such thing. All I can say is, we did make the call. Joseph Paring said half an hour later, and there was no call, and the phone dropped dead. All of a sudden, God just closed the line, not Homo Living, not Joseph Paring. So we want to hit back. The only weapon we have got is the 6th nominated member. There is a clause, you see, in the state constitution that we have got 6 nominated member. So if we invoke this 6th nominated member, we will have 28. He will have 26. That's why we dare to go to the istana. And the governor then, the Tiwati, agreed.
About 3 o'clock in the morning, I said to Parin, I think we better telephone the head of state. He said, wait, what is your manners? He said, how can you telephone the head of state at 3 o'clock in the morning? He's sleeping. I said, you got to check for tomorrow for your swearing in. So he said, you telephone the secretary to the head of state. I managed to speak to him. And he said, he's still awake. There's a lot of people here, he said. You cannot speak to him. So we went over to the atas, but we cannot go in because the gate was blocked, okay? And then there's a lot of USNO boys also around the gate. And we have been warned by a policeman there that any PBS people coming in might get beaten up. Majid, Yalampong, Karim Ghani, semua diorang di sana advise Tun Mustafa to go to the istana and storm the istana and get the head of state to swear him. The atmosphere was not very good. According to him, there was even a threat by some of the boys who went over to his place, and some of them are holding pistols and knives, you know. So he said he also got his own crèche. Dia bilang dia taruh juga di sana just in case, Pak. Dia bilang.
I know human being is such not easy for anybody to accept defeat. You know, especially for the Tuaris, I think. And when that time come, Berjaya got only 6 seats and USNO got 16. Total is 22. Still you cannot form the government. So they thought that they can use the 6. Meaning to say, whoever is sworn in first as chief minister, he has the right to appoint the 6. So that's why the Mustafa was straight away sworn in as the chief minister that night itself. But legally it is wrong because you don't have the majority.
Pada jam 4.30 pagi, Tun Mustafa dari Parti USNO mengangkat sumpah sebagai Ketua Menteri buat kali kedua.
Adnan Robert, a well-educated person, he knows his constitution. Insofar as Tun Adnan was concerned later on, he was looking strictly at it from the point of view of the constitutional requirement. So he was right there. He did say in court that he has made a mistake. That is why he said he rectified the appointment of that Pairin.
Dengan sokongan pemangku Perdana Menteri, Datuk Joseph Pairin Kitingan mengangkat sumpah sebagai Ketua Menteri Sabah yang sah pada jam 8 malam itu.
By 10 o'clock, Pairin was back in his house as the chief minister. So I said to him, we are going home. They have been working the whole day, the whole morning, the whole night. So I said it is about time for us to go and have our shower. We'll be back, but when you select your ministers, can you wait for some ministers from the USNO side? And he said yes. When I come back, all the names are already there. Sambilang semua. So saya bilang, kenapa ini? We have got an obligation to the other party. Nanti. Now I said tomorrow there will be a demonstration. Sure enough, kan?
Tun Mustafa memfailkan injunksi terhadap TYT Adnan Robert. Seperti yang diketahui oleh USNO, Tun Mustafa masih memegang jawatan Ketua Menteri Sabah.
That morning, saya tengok itu Padang Merdeka di KK. Saya bilang, kenapa itu? Banyak itu bas USNO. Saya bilang, bos, kenapa itu Padang penuh itu bas? Saya bilang, kau tahu itu Sakaran dan Dayak punya orang. Itu Datuk Mustafa bawa dari Sempurna sama itu, dia bilang. Jadi, early morning kan 9 o'clock. Saya tinggal satu meletup bom di in front of the MPKK punya stasiun minyak. Bom tangan. Banyak kereta kena meletup di sana, orang hantam bom tangan. Itu orang yang itulah saya bilang, yang orang itu pelarian itu dari Pulau Gaya. Dia orang sudah sedia bikin bom ikan.
这边这个在这边。我们做这个ปั๊在这边，跟那个 mechanic 做好了，我们进去是吧？他那边爆炸，我们以为这个爆炸它一爆炸很多那个烟看不到啊，那个烟一走了是吗？原来是那个ปั๊那边，我们的工人还在那边ปั๊这边旁边两个还没有开那个店，那边都爆炸了，很快全部这个玻璃全部爆。那个屋顶跌下来，4个那个斑马灯全部弄到那个耳朵，这定了，没有3天然后就好了。我带去 hospital 啊，全部带去 Big Elizabeth Hospital。
你知道为什么这样？
这个是 politic 的东西来的嘛，因为什么好像是白领赢了是吧？他们不甘愿就是做到这个东西出来了，是不是？这个很简单的东西来的。
I was from my office from Wisma Sabah and I walked across here. There was no occasion that I had open space to walk across here to see my friend Roger. Then as I walked here, there was no dividing or something. Bomb went off right. I can see that the canopy was damaged and all that, and I got frightened. And I didn't know what to do. I was in a daze. Then I walked back. I decided to walk back to Wisma Sabah. Then another explosion occurred. Very loud bang. Then we went to investigate, and it happens to be a bomb planted under my staff car, and his car was a total wreck, totally damaged.
Saya punya arahan pasal saya marah sama Pairin. Orang yang tidak mematuhi undang-undang itu, kita tidak ada pilihan lain. Sama ada hidup atau mati, itu saja. Semua pergi ke masjid. Ya, orang-orang.
I think Tun Mustafa himself was taken aback. I think of all people, he was the one who was promised by somebody from Kuala Lumpur that if there was enough firepower, then emergency will be declared. Because I went to his house, I asked him why this thing happened. Tun. Oh, biarlah, that's what he said. And I can tell you this man, that if we didn't approve of the whole thing, I don't think those people would have come.
Pelarian-pelarian itu tinggal bersama-sama istri dan anak-anak mereka di Masjid Negeri. Pada malam yang sama, 2 tanda salib dilukis di dinding Masjid Negeri dengan menggunakan cat merah. Kedua-dua parti Berjaya dan Parti USNO menuduh parti pelbagai kaum yaitu Parti Bersatu Sabah sebagai parti anti-Islam. Mereka percaya, Sabah sedang mengalami pergolakan agama berbanding krisis politik.
Honest opinion, yeah? It was done by the Muslim. Some mosques open, mosque one in Kutablut, my own kampung. I know who did it. Not done by the Christians. Just to incite that feeling. As I said, from political problem, they want to equate it to religious program antara Muslim dan Muslim. I did not see, but I think there was some smaller demonstration in Senakan and Tawau as well. If you remember, people like Gabur Sali was involved in Tawau. Asna Ibrahim was very much involved in Senakan. There was some burning of building there, I said, but smaller than the one in Kota Kinabalu.
They stir the foreigner to fight against the local citizen demonstration, which is very, very wrong. Because any government, either the opposition or the PM government, the first priority is to protect your own children, your citizens. Okay? So those days, when they stir about this riot and all these things, most of the people was very, very upset. So they feel quite sad. They also lost confidence.
You see, it was very peaceful. In fact, when we passed the mosque, some people are throwing stone. So we jumped. Especially I could still remember Dato' Rally Jeffrey. I said, Rally, jump to the before the church so that they will stone you, so they can stone the church. This is Rally Jeffrey. Rally Jeffrey is the Deputy Minister of Works before in the federal government.
Jangan kari sama dia. Okey, Asad. You kirim dah. Okay, where's the Black Maria? Put it inside.
All these things happening. I am the leader of the demonstration. I'm not even leader. In fact, Tun Sakaran is the leader of the demonstration. All this, we got a shock because this is not normal in our life.
Kalau pergi lawan, memang Pak Erin tahu itu, batal itu parti, jangan election. Sudah. Nah, itu dia tidak pergi lawan, jangan kamu lawan, diam-diam. Ikut saja mau election balik. Itu karena itu budak-budak yang hati itu, masih muda, dia orang mau lawan, tapi jangan. Lalu satu kali kamu lawan, military order, martial law. Nah, siapa buka mulut, jail, masuk jail. Semua kena tangkap. Nah, apalagi jadi kita punya parti itu, PBS parti pun kena batal.
I don't consider that a riot because it is not against the authorities. Even the police were escorting this group, from the mosque up to the secretariat building. How can you say it's a riot? How can you allow them to march tomorrow morning and then you disperse, tear gas, march, disperse? What are you trying to do? I'm not accusing the federal government. No, but Police should not allow the sort of thing to happen. So there may be some truth, and at least one person was convinced, and that is the late Mustafa, that there was backing about this demonstration from the federal government. So there was some truth that some people in KL wanted the thing to happen. They just could not accept that PBS become the government. After 2 or 3 days, I was told by the late Abdul Malik Chua that I should go because there are some of our people were getting out of control. When I went to the mosque, my goodness, it was not fit to be a mosque anymore. Dirty here everywhere. You know this what they call this tapau food. You know, bersipah-sipah. How can you allow such thing in the mosque, state mosque? Even now you can easily recognize who are local, who are foreigners. Very simple. So I can tell you now, out of 10 people there at the mosque that I saw, 6 or 7 are not local.
Filipinos, I think the supporters of Tun Mustafa, they want fighting actually against Joseph Paring. They are supporters of the Muslim, that's all. You can call it fighting against, but they are not. Actually, they are not. They are just supporters. And sometimes, they have also been used by maybe by Muslim leaders, to commit maybe something, which is not right. Yeah. But you see, the Muslim, the Filipinos come here, is not to fight anybody. They just want to survive. Unfortunately, maybe they have been used.
I overheard that there was talk about declarations of emergency, but we need more firepower. It come out from some people's mouths, during when I was in the mosque. What does it mean? It means more building must be burned. Some people got to be killed. Then there will be enough firepower to declare emergency. Because when you declare emergency, no government. I think the majority of those people who participated did not know what is going on. Except for the slogan, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. When the time comes for makan, they makan. They all run towards the mosque. They did not know why they should be there.
How did they come here? They were here, it has to be through the back door. Who opened the door? Originally it was Tun Mustafa who opened the back door for them to come. Right? And I think Tun Mustafa maybe have got this vague idea about having the Muslim here, and later on probably become citizen, and they became part of his supporters. So when Tun Mustafa was involved in this fighting, political fighting, so they had no choice. What choice have they got? They just have to support Tun Mustafa, because it was Tun Mustafa who opened the door. Plus, of course, this door cannot be opened without the help of the federal government.
When they first arrived, that was during our government, Tun Mustafa called all of us, the leaders of in USNO government, and said that he has already got the approval from Kuala Lumpur to accept these people, he said, and to give them the appropriate papers. They have a special pass, They are not citizen, they cannot vote yet at that time, but they have got the special pass and they are allowed to get any job that is available to them. At one time, they were also paid, I think, $2 to $3 a day for their food, and that was later on billed to the federal government, I think, not the state. By 1981, I think there was a large influx of people already, and I think if I read the newspaper correctly, they were welcomed with open arms by the authorities,
When you sleep in the pulau, compared to you sleep in the mosque, more comfortable in the mosque, At least you have the carpet, the time no aircon. But if you have the carpet, so once in a while in your lifetime, you're taken from the island, go and sleep in the mosque, running water, electricity, because you accepted. You see, even small children were there. A lot of small children. Others bringing their children. It's like a holiday,
Parents had no choice but to declare the state election for 1986. He just said that he has dissolved the assembly.
PBS menang pilihan raya tahun 1986 dengan majority, mengambil 34 kursi dari 47 kursi yang dipertandingkan. USNO dan Berjaya kekal sebagai parti pakatan sehingga tahun 1990. Dalam peristiwa ini, dilaporkan sebanyak 34 bom, 20 kes kebakaran, 56 ugutan bom, dan 73 buah kereta musnah. Seramai 1.763 orang ditahan, termasuk 6 orang yang ditahan di bawah Akta Keselamatan Dalam Negeri. Perintah berkurung berlangsung selama 39 hari, dan jumlah kerugian akibat rusuhan di Sabah dianggarkan bernilai 10 juta. Akibat dari rusuhan itu, terdapat 5 mangsa terbunuh. Riasim bin Lakim, seorang nelayan, mati akibat letupan bom. Muksan Sawat, seorang perusuh berbangsa Suluk, mati terkena tembakan polis. Di Sandakan, Chong Tong Sing, seorang penjual surat kabar, mati terkena bom. 2 lagi wanita yang tidak dikenali, mati terbakar. Untuk semua kerusakan yang dialami, tiada mana-mana pihak yang mau bertanggung jawab atas sekatan yang berlaku di seluruh negeri. Ahli-ahli politik pasti akan menyatakan bahwa rusuhan yang berlaku di Sabah ini adalah kesan dari konflik politik. Pada hakikatnya, mereka telah membalas dendam kepada rakyat karena rakyat tidak mengundi mereka. Semua parti politik hendaklah diingatkan bahwa apa juga kaum, agama, atau aliran politik mereka adalah menjadi tanggung jawab semua ahli politik untuk melindungi rakyat di bawah jagaan mereka.